Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dean Images Podcast. I'm your host, Russell Dean Thompson, and I have a very special guest on today, my first guest of my first episode. If you watched ESPN in the 80s and 90s and watched the monster truck rallies, you might have seen this young man. He is a very, very kind, very heartwarming, genuine friend of mine. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to Mr. Mike Gallaway.
Well,
Mike, thank you.
You did well. You did well. And strangely enough, you didn't call me anything. You usually call me.
Well, I had to think about this. Like, okay, who's gonna watch? Who's gonna listen to this? Who's gonna watch this? You know, I want to make sure that I get the right audience and to make sure that it's kid friendly, I guess, in a way.
I had talking about kid friendly. We came on for a long time at 3:30 in the afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing that I've been told by so many people that are in their 40s now, probably middle 40s, oh, Mr. Galloway, I used to get off the bus and run home as hard as I could and get the TV on and watch you every afternoon on television. And I thought, okay, that's probably when I was out working, but...
Well, that's genuinely cool because as we were talking earlier before we started this, the humbling feelings you get when people say things like that to you, or want to shake your hand, or just, I just want to meet you and greet with you, and it just, I'm sure you being in the industry that long, you think it's something. Some people say, oh, you get used to it. Was it ever something you got used to?
Still not.
Still not.
Yeah. Don't understand it.
Yeah.
I'm just Mike.
Yeah, exactly.
Always have been.
Exactly.
One time, gosh, this is the first story. Okay.
Let's go.
One time we're in North Dakota or someplace, Montana, way up there at a fair. And in between shows, and I'm standing on top of this hill talking to Bob Chandler, who owns Bigfoot.
Yep.
And this man comes up, and Bob and I are just shooting the breeze, and he said, can I get a picture? And Bob said, sure, I'd love for you to. And so I just stepped out of what would be the frame of the picture. And when I did, the little kid came over and stood in front of me. Mm-hmm. And they wanted a picture taken with me. Didn't know who that other guy was.
Meanwhile, he's the driver of Bigfoot. You don't even know.
He owns Bigfoot. Okay, that blue truck out there in front, that's his.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that gives you an idea.
Oh, my gosh. Well, the thing that I thought was funny is, doing a little bit of research about you, what I could find online, and there's quite a bit. There's quite a bit of clips on YouTube and stuff like that. So I was able, even though we've been friends for a while, it's just I had to really dive in to kind of find some little artifacts about you that I could bring up and talk to you about. And probably one of the coolest ones I saw was one where you drove Bigfoot in a parking lot over some cars, and I believe it was Jim Kramer that was on with you. That was like, yeah, Mike, he was telling you how to do it. He was putting a neck brace on you and telling you, and it was just so fun to see you. I think it was shot in 88 or 89.
Probably.
And it was just so cool to watch that and see you, riding around. And then whenever you got back, you were talking to another announcer friend of yours, and he's like, how did it feel like when you were going over? And you're like, it's actually very comfortable. But you could see you just bouncing around in that truck going over those cars, and it was hilarious to me. But I mean, that's just where I thought, my God, I'm sitting here talking to a guy that I go to the car shows with, who walks around announcing just like he's ordering pizza. It's no big deal, and talking to everyone. And then I go back and watch these old clips. I'm like, man, he's the same guy 3-4 decades ago. He's just having fun, and that's just so cool and genuine.
That was on Saturday morning.
Okay.
In St. Louis.
Okay.
They had a place, I think they've torn it down now, but where the Blues played hockey, and they called it the Checker Dome.
Oh, okay.
And it was just a big old barn, and it was Purina originally was one of the sponsors on the barn, and it was checkerboarded on top. And so we were there. I was there on Friday night. And Kramer said, you want to drive that truck? And I said, yeah, I'll drive it. And I'm just like that. No big deal. Okay, tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock in the parking lot. Well, I've already let my Pekingese mouth overload my bulldog butt or whichever one it is, you know. So I got up and got the rent car and drove over there and might have had just a touch of a hangover. It's not a hangover, a headache, which helped because when I do that, I get real hard-headed.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to do it. I did it. It was fun. I drove that one. I drove the tank, the one that has the twin blown fours behind the seat.
I seen that one. Yeah.
And I drove the one with the 10-foot tall tires on it.
So you've done tractor pulls. You've done, I remember the other day when I shared on Facebook about Robbie Knievel, about his passing, and what was it you said?
We did a show in Ontario, Canada.
Okay.
Before they built the dome up there, they had just a absolutely huge stadium outdoors.
Okay.
And I was kind of subleased to some Canadian promoters, and they were doing a thrill show, and we had Robbie Knievel, we had Spanky Spangler, had 2 or 3 other jumpers, Brian Carson, but this whole night, 2.5 hours with nothing but thrill shows, spectacular. Spanky was supposed to go up in a hot air balloon and jump out of a hot air balloon into a pile of boxes. And the wind got up and they couldn't put the hot air balloon up, so they got a lift and took him up in the lift as high as it would go, 500 feet or something.
Golly.
Set the boxes on fire, set Spanky on fire, and he kind of jumped.
He kind of jumped. Did he have a choice?
Might have had a little help.
I was about to say, did he have a choice?
Had somebody up there with him, kind of pushing him along.
Poking him out with a stick.
Yeah, so it did that. The funny thing about that old stadium, it was just huge. I don't know, 15, 20 stories tall, the front of it.
Wow.
And I was sitting there talking to this promoter, and I said, "Where do I work?" And he said, "Well, up there." And you walked up the steps all the way to the top of the stadium, and then you went a little door, went to the top of the stadium, the roof.
Yeah.
Walked across the roof, and then you walked to the edge and opened another door and went down, and you sat on the edge of the roof, hanging over the edge.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's what I said.
I was about to say, did you have to get any liquid confidence to get up
Couldn't
there?
afford to. My heavens, what if I can't get down?
Maybe they could help you out with that lift.
Yeah.
You step off in there and let you down gradually.
Yeah, I worked with Robbie there. And then he went off and worked with USA not too long after that. But that was the time I worked with him up there. I worked with quite a few. Brian Carson was awful good. Gosh, he was great. I worked with him a lot in the Astrodome and a lot of thrill show people.
Right. What was so like earlier when we were talking, you said, you got into broadcasting through school. So if you could run that by some listeners could.
After high school, I worked at the Oklahoma City Stockyards, got the best education you could ever get in your life.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think them cowboys won't teach you something?
You're wrong.
You got that right. And I was going in one Saturday morning during the National Finals Rodeo when it was held in Oklahoma City, and I was driving my 56 Chevrolet, 4-door hardtop, 302, 3-speed to the stockyards to do my Saturday job.
Mm-hmm.
Had a date that night. Had my tickets up above the window. The tickets blew down between the door and the seat. I looked down to pick them up and heard the car popping, rocks hitting. Dad always said, "Don't ever whip it back on the road, son. You'll kill yourself." So I didn't. But I didn't see that concrete culvert.
Oh, no.
So I hit it. Car traveled 550 feet before it landed. I remember laying on the roof looking at the floor, thinking, boy, I hope I don't tear this car up. It was too late.
It was totaled.
Yeah. So I got hurt pretty bad on that deal, and a lot of different things happened on it. But anyway, so I got on a rehabilitation thing to make me a better person, and I went to Elkins Radio School Institute of Technology in Dallas, and got a phone at that time to be in radio, and learned how to talk and how to say I fly my kite.
Yeah.
And so I came back, and probably when I came back, I went to work for a radio station, an AM in Oklahoma City called KLPR, owned by Jack Beasley. And I worked at Channel 5 as a page. I rode a Honda Dream motorcycle
Oh, those are cool.
and went and picked up film.
Mm-hmm.
It's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a photographer. I wanted to take pictures.
You want to do my job.
I did, and I did a lot of it.
Yeah.
But I found out right after I went, well, you know, if you got this ID from Channel 5 and you have a camera, you can do about anything you want to.
Oh, yeah.
So I went to the National Finals Rodeo one night.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was there. No 4 or 5, no 9, no one.
Yeah.
I grew up around rodeos. So I crawl up, and this is when the chutes they're built into the wall on the south side of the arena at that time. And I was up behind the chutes, and the announcer says, turn your eyes towards chute number 5. Freckles Brown sets down on Tornado. And I shot the only film of Freckles Brown riding Tornado that ever existed.
Wow.
Still, somebody put it on a DVD and sells it now.
That's about right.
Yeah.
No credit to the
no
credit. No
no.
credit to the guy that caught it.
No. So I did a lot of that stuff. I took a lot of pictures, and then I later on I took stills at the racetrack, and then took some tractor pulling still pictures, and
Yeah.
I just worked.
Just work, just enjoying the moment of everything.
Yeah.
So how did you get in with? How did that just all kind of gravitate towards the monster trucks and stuff, or how did that
started,
come about?
I did truck and tractor pulls.
Okay.
And first one I ever did was in Hinton, Oklahoma. And we were out in Elk City doing a show. And I never told any of the tractor pull people. I was there taking pictures, but I knew a lot of people there.
Right.
And we had a show that I took pictures at that night, and we're at the Holiday Inn. It had a dome over the pool, and we're out drinking beverages around the pool. And there was a guy there from Texas that said that someone had actually paid him to announce a show and bought him an airplane ticket. And I said, I can do that.
Yeah.
And the guy said, okay, a week from today. No problem. In Hinton. So I went, made myself physically sick. I puked before the show. And I puked after the show.
What was it? The nerves, or just?
Yeah, because I wanted to be good.
Oh, so you beat yourself up with anxiety. Oh,
just
God.
horribly bad.
Oh, Mike.
And that went on for years.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. And so finished that night. I think he bought me a box of cigars. That was good enough.
That's fair.
Probably $5.
Yeah.
But a gentleman showed up and said, how much do you charge? Well, I don't really know. $50. I said, $50 a show. He said, good. I got a show next week in Chickasha, Oklahoma. How about you doing that? I'll be there.
I'll be there.
So I went to Chickasha and puked and did the show and puked again and got paid. And so when I got paid, I took that money and went and bought business cards.
Ah, now we're
Now I am one.
now you're networking.
Oh, yeah. I am a professional. It says so on this card. See, do you have a pink card or a blue card? They were all different colors.
No,
Green.
no, yeah, yeah.
I'm a professional. So not too long after that, a bunch of my friends got together, and they were all going down to Louisiana, Shreveport, Louisiana, to do a show. They were going to go tractor pull. Come on, go with us. Just ride down there and have fun. So I rode down there to Shreveport and had fun, and we got unloaded and put the weights on the tractor and getting it set up to pull, and guy walks up and he said, I understand you're an announcer. Yes, sir, I am. Here's a card. How much do you charge? $100 a show. Oh, said, we can't afford that.
So now what do we do?
Okay. See ya. So I just went about my way. About an hour came by, and he came back and said, okay, we found the money.
Oh, all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Just found it?
So I went up and announced, and that was the Texas Tractor Pullers Association. They were out of Lampasas, Texas, out in the around Lubbock area.
Yeah.
So I announced for them, and they got my phone number, and then it just kind of snowballed after that. I'd go here and there. And so there was a show in Oklahoma City, and I was selling some four-wheel drive parts. It was a truck pull.
Mm-hmm.
And these promoters were out of Chicago.
Yeah.
So I took my parts up there and sold them, and this guy that I knew, they always had a club do some work for them. And
Mm-hmm.
this guy that ran the club said, oh, I got to introduce you to these people. It's okay. So we went around the building, and Bob George was there, and Tony Vaccaro was there. And this guy said, this guy's a real good announcer. You ought to use him. And Bob said, talk to me a little bit. And I said, well, I'm Mike Gallaway. I'm the best in the world.
Wow.
And he said, well, I thought I was. And I said, well, you're wrong. And he said, well, we always like to have a little talent, local talent. And I'll give you a chance. Fine. Don't care. We went up and he sat down. He opened the show up. And by the way, he was very good.
Yeah.
Just amazing. Opened the show up and he did a class and he said, now I'm going to let you do 2 or 3 trucks. See how you sound. And I said, that's fine. So I just took the microphone and the line-up sheet and rocked through these 5 trucks, and pretty soon I turned around and he was gone. So the show was over with, and one of the guys came up and said, Bob wants your phone number. So I gave him my phone number. A couple of weeks later, he called and said, you want to go to Wichita, Kansas and work? And I said, yeah. So, well, how much? And I said, 150.
I know your pay is gradually getting better.
I'm getting better. So I went to Wichita, and that's when I ended up starting to work for, we had a bunch of names. Truckorama. Mm-hmm. National Hot Rod Truck Pullers Association. I mean, it just went on. And then they ended up being called SRO, Standing Room Only.
Oh, okay.
And that's where it was till they sold out.
Okay.
I worked for them for forever. I'd work for them on the winter time. We'd go to the East Coast in the winter, mm-hmm. and the West Coast. And then I ended up partially through my career, met a guy named Seth Dolton out in California. And I'd go out there and work in the summertime, and we'd do a fair circuit from all over. So we're getting back to monsters. And first time we had a monster truck at a show was that I was at. It was Evansville, Indiana. Bob came in. Jim was with him. We went to a restaurant and had a Bigfoot pizza. Mm-hmm. And it was huge. That guy was a big fan of Bigfoot.
Yeah.
This was right about the time Take This Job and Shove It came out.
Was it David Allan Coe, the original, or was it Johnny Paycheck's cover? Because
Johnny
I
Paycheck.
love his version better.
Yeah.
It's so good.
And Bob was driving a one-ton Winnebago, and the truck was in an open-wheel trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the first one. And then, of course, the big one was when he made the crush in Pontiac Silverdome. So to get to the television thing, we were at that time sponsored by Budweiser and Ford.
Okay.
Anheuser-Busch and Ford. And I took care of Anheuser-Busch when we did the PAs and Ford and all that stuff. Well, I'm painting the house one day.
Mm-hmm.
In shorts. I look like death eating a donut. But I'm just outside the window, and the phone rings. So I run in the house and pick up the phone, and this guy says, I'm Tom Barton. Glad to meet you, Mr. Barton.
Mm-hmm.
He said, do you think you can do television? I'm sure I can do TV. He said, well, I got this show coming up in Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You think you could do that? And I said, well, what's the date on it? And he told me, and I had my calendar there. And I said, no, I can't. I'd like to, but I just can't do it. I'm booked with SRO that day. He said, I'll get that handled.
Oh.
You get that handled, I'll do it. And so we talked about money, and I won't discuss that with you.
I'm assuming your pay grade probably went up again.
I don't know. Have nothing to say. But pretty soon, SRO called me back and said, well, you're going to do this TV for us. And I said, okay, that's fine. I didn't know sick 'em from come here, but you know what? They couldn't do anything but eat me.
Yeah.
Just go on and do it.
You're still announcing there's just a camera on you now,
Yeah,
right?
it didn't make any difference.
Yeah.
So I went to Three Rivers Stadium, and I fretted over it, to say the least.
Oh, I'm sure.
So my director called me, and he said, let's have a meeting. I said, okay, in the bar. Okay. So we went down to the bar. His name was Tom Williamson. It just turned out to be a super friend, still see him today. And we talked, and about halfway through it, I said, I want to explain something to you. The first time you raise your voice to me, I'm going home. I have a ticket in my pocket. I lived with a woman for a long time that screamed at me, and I will not put up with you screaming at me. He said, Galloway, you and I are going to get along just fine.
Oh, wow.
He never did. All the shows we did, everything we did, never raised his voice.
Never came at you?
No.
Oh,
no.
wow.
None of them did. One time, we were in Denver. I don't remember. Truck pull or truck race or something in Denver. So he called me, and he said, let's drive up the mountains early in the morning. We'd have a show till that night. And I said, okay. So we drove up in the mountains, and we're talking, and he said, now, I live in Oklahoma. I've always lived in Oklahoma. I thought everyone knew what Oklahoma terrain was like.
Right.
So we're driving up through the mountains. He said, boy, I sure got a problem. I said, what's the problem, Tom? He said, I've got this show we're doing in Albany, Washington, and it's the World's Championship Timber Festival. And I don't have a color commentator. That's nothing. I said, we do that at the state fair in Oklahoma all the time. We do it on the county level. We do log rolling, and we do tree climbing. We got all that stuff in Oklahoma.
It ain't nothing.
Really? Have you ever done it? Oh, yeah. It's not a big deal. I mean, all the fairs do it, and I go to the fairs, and I announce stuff. And okay, well, that was all was said. I didn't nothing else said about it. So we did the show in Denver, and probably 5 days later, a lady calls me and says, "Now, Mr. Galloway, I've got your tickets booked for the 3rd of July to take you to Oregon. You're going to do the color commentary on the World's Championship Timber Festival." Okay. I'd love to. So, there's not a lot of things there wasn't an internet issue then.
Right.
But there's not a lot of things in the library in Oklahoma about Timber Festival.
Yeah.
But I did my research and ended up with nothing. And we finished the show one night in Orange County, California. It was the Orange County Fair. We'd been there putting a show on it. 3 or 4 of us are standing around talking. It's, "Well, where are you going next week?" And I said, "Well, next week I go back to the East Coast, wherever it was. And then I'm going to Oregon." "Oh, you're going to Oregon, man. That's a fun time. I've been there for 5 years, and I just love it there." And I said, "Oh, you've been there?" He said, Yes. I said, Do you have a program?" "Oh, I've got 5 years worth of programs." "Would you send them to me? I'll bring them to you." Yeah, I'll send them to me. So he sent me the programs from 5 years, and I memorized all the programs, knew what the faces looked like.
Yeah.
We're flying out there, and I told my director, I said, when we get there, we worked for Anheuser-Busch. It was called Bud Sports. I said, when we get there, I need 2 cases of beer.
Mm-hmm.
He said, not a problem. So we get there and do our business and go by the distributor, and the guy brings out 3 cases of beer. I said, I only need 2. Tom said, well, we may need 3. So.
Oh, yeah.
So we go down to the Timber Festival, and at that time they all camped together.
Yeah.
And I drive up and open the rent car trunk and pull out 2 cases of cold beer, set it on the ground down by the fire. Who are you? And I said, I'm the color commentator for this weekend. I'm here to talk to you. Let's have a beer. I was a pretty good guy. I had cold beer. So we sat around and drank this cold beer. And this one guy said, well, I want to tell you one thing. Chris Economica's been here for 5 years, and he never got out of the trailer. So I'm not Chris Economica. Let's have a beer. So we had a beer. I learned who their wives was, how long they've been doing it, where they're from. I didn't ask.
Right.
I listened.
Yeah.
And had the best time. So we did the show, got asked back the next year,
Mm-hmm.
climbed a tree, rolled logs. It was an enjoyable time.
That's so cool.
Let's go back to the first show. Went to Three Rivers and did that, and came home, and there was a club in Chickasha at that time, and we rented it for one night. And when the show aired,
Mm-hmm.
we had a bunch of 25 or 30 people come to the place and watch the TV show.
Yeah.
All of us at the same time. My wife said, do you think you did a good job? And I said, if they asked me back,
Mm-hmm.
I did a good job. And I did it for quite a while. I'd do television one night and live the next week.
Right.
It was nothing to do with it was a way of making a living.
Right.
That was what I did. I talked for a living.
Mm-hmm.
I did drag races. I did sprint car races for television and live. The Timber Festival for television. I did a train race one time
Mm-hmm.
for ESPN. I did some stuff. I did a lot of shows in Madison Square Garden.
Right.
Worked about every major dome and stadium in the United States and Canada.
Right.
And never thought a thing about it.
Yeah. And it's got to be amazing how far it went because, and I believe I told you this, but when we were down there doing the Saturday Night Cruisers in Chickasha over by the church at one time doing the car show, and we took our annual selfie where you're always not smiling and I'm grinning ear to ear.
Yeah.
And I posted it, and my friend Dusty Brown wrote me and said, "Is that Mike Gallaway?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Do you know him?" He goes, "No, my stepdad Jerry Covington does." And I was like, "Oh, okay." He said, "Yeah, you tell him that Jerry said hi." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'll let him know." And I think I told you, but
Yeah.
oh, yeah, I know Jerry.
Yeah.
And, because, Covington Cycle City, they built, they've been on Discovery doing them, the chopper builds. And I guess he started with hot rods and stuff and
He started with hot rods in California, and
yeah.
then moved to Woodward.
Yeah.
And I knew Jerry, my friend Seth Dalton, and I did a lot of motorcycle shows during the time. And would see Jerry out in Vegas and California, or just wherever.
Right.
And of course, being from Oklahoma and we're a long ways from home, we'd talk and visit.
Right.
Very, very nice man.
Speaking of stories, I've got to tell one on you that makes me laugh, because still to this day, because for those of you who don't know, one of the first times I met Mike Galloway was at our baby shower. And Aaron said, "Oh, Mike and Terry are coming with Mitch and Lynn." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." And I was like, "Yeah, I've seen Mike before. I don't think I've formally met him." She goes, "Oh, you'll love Mike." I was like, "Okay, great." Y'all show up, you walk in, you have just got this smug look on. Not smug like, I don't want to be here, just kind of like you're just scanning, kind of looking around at things. You come up, you shake my hand, you introduce myself, you don't smile, which is just typical Mike Galloway. You walk in the house, we hang out all day. I'm still kind of looking at him like, I wonder if I've said something wrong, or if maybe he's just not having a good, I don't know. And I kept beating myself up over it. I'm just going to forget about it. The baby shower ends. You're walking out. I say, "Hey, thank y'all for coming." You turn to me as stone-faced as I've ever seen you. You shake my hand. You said, "Russell, I had a wonderful time." And you just walked away. And I was just like, I called Aaron. I said, "Is he just messing with me?" She goes, "Oh, no, that's just Mike." I was like, "Oh, okay." I was like, I still don't know what to think of him. I said, "I don't know what he thinks of me." She goes, "He's just messing with you." He's just like, and then like after that, it was just everything was opening. We were, laughing together and stuff. But that first time I met you, I was like, man, he really got the best of me that day. And I didn't even know it.
I'm just not a nice person, Russell. I wished I was. I really wished I was a nice person, but I'm not.
But it's just the way you said it. You literally stone-faced looked at me and said, "I had a wonderful time," but you had no emotion on your face. It was phenomenal.
I'm glad I got that down pat.
Oh yeah. And that's why I tell people every time they see a picture of us together, it's like, "That guy ever smile?" Like, yeah, just when he's not taking his picture. Yeah, if he's not taking his picture, he's having a good time, he's laughing. The minute the cameras come on, it's just frown. And I was actually kind of worried about the family photo shoot that we had to do, but you really turned it on, especially when it was 20 degrees outside. So, and we had a great time.
One time at the Tacoma Dome in Tacoma, Washington, it had never had a show in it. It was brand new.
Okay.
And the Tacoma Dome, if you don't know, when Mount St. Helena erupted, all the timber was pushed down the mountain by the eruption of the volcano.
Yeah.
And they took all that timber and they harvested it, and they used a major portion of it for the rafters in this building.
Okay.
The building is designed not to have to, the roof doesn't support any weight because it literally sits on the ocean, so it can't snow on it. So we're in the Tacoma Dome, and it's sold out. I don't remember what it's seated, maybe 35, 40,000 people. But it's full.
Yeah.
So we never rehearsed anything in my life. Just walk in and do it.
Yeah.
So we had a rehearsal, checked everything out. Showtime. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please stand for the playing of our national anthem? And I look at the sound man, and he pushes the button, and it says, "Oh." That's it.
That was it?
It's quiet. My boss is behind me, and he said, "Sing, Galloway."
Oh, no.
I'm not going to sing, Tony. He said, "Sing." Galloway. I said, I'm not going to sing. He said, I don't pay. And I said, oh, say, can. Yeah.
Was this the same guy that never raised his voice to you?
Yeah.
Oh, so he just said it monotone. Sing, Galloway.
Yeah,
It was a command.
I'm not paying.
I'm not paying.
I'm singing.
You got real
Oh,
patriotic,
yeah.
didn't you?
Boy, I could carry it too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing how patriotic you can be when someone decides to hold your paycheck over your head.
Some of the things that was amazing to me as being an announcer.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I never thought anything about it. If I had my choice, I want to go work a 5,000 seat facility
Right.
because I'll know 4,000 of them before it's over with.
Yeah.
I like to work from the floor. I like to be down on the floor where something's going on. But I'm in Anaheim. Well, just you could do it in about any stadium, but Anaheim just comes to mind. And to convince these thousands and thousands of people to do the wave.
Mm-hmm.
We're starting over there in section 4E and coming right on around. And to have them do the wave and watch that happen and know that you could set that off, that's just kind of a made me smile thing.
Well, it's amazing too because the way you do things back then was all kind of like going from analog to digital. I mean, there was no signs or there wasn't cell phones going off.
No.
So get up and wave.
Yeah.
You had to like raise your hand to get them, get their attention, just as like how you did with your career. Like everything you did was word of mouth.
Yeah.
People had to be at your shows. People who wanted to use you for work had to watch you live or completely trust someone who goes, oh, you got to get Galloway. They had to just put no YouTube and no seeing what this guy actually did. They just had to go, okay, get Galloway. With that sight unseen sometime, right?
Yeah.
Because that's just how it was.
Guy called me one time from right outside of Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Cecil Johnson. Well, come to find out, my friend that ran Anheuser-Busch, part of the advertising, they were sponsored by Busch Beer.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing Anheuser-Busch at this other place. So Cecil calls me, and I knew who Cecil was, and we talked, and he said, well, we want you to do some shows for us. And I said, that's fine. He said, I was in St. Louis last weekend and heard you. I said, okay. He said, how much does it cost? And I told him.
Mm-hmm.
And it was quiet on the other end. And I said, look, Cecil, now I just want you to know we're friends. And if that's too expensive for you, that's fine. It's not going to bother my friendship in the least, but that's just the way it is.
Right.
And Cecil said, well, Galloway, I didn't think I was calling Walmart. And I went and did shows for them all over the South and Georgia and North Carolina and South Carolina. Did a lot of NASCAR tracks back in that day. And
right.
If you've had a flat piece of ground, I've probably been there putting a show on it.
Yeah.
And announcing somewhere.
Yeah. It didn't have to be like huge sponsored stuff you could do. I mean, I know.
No, I was cheap enough that any county fair in America could hire me.
Oh, that's got to be cool too. And that's probably got to be one of those things too, because back in that time where you could watch on TV, watch somebody and then go, oh my God, like we went to like the, out in the middle of nowhere tractor pull and Mike Galloway's out there announcing it. Like the dude on TV, the dude that we saw at the 30,000 seat arena, like, oh yeah, he's here. Like that's got to be crazy for people who are like I said, it's nothing to you, but for fans, I
never thought anything about it.
Yeah.
So one time, I know every one of them starts with "so one time."
Yeah.
And mostly it was one time. Did a show I was working for Dolton and did a show in California. Lord knows where it was. The next show we did was in Snake River, Montana, where Evil did his jump.
Yeah.
And we're going to the it's a fair.
Yeah.
And we're going to the fair. I'm just walking around. They got some concert going on there that night.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh, there's thousands and thousands and thousands of little girls over there.
Mm-hmm.
14, 15, 13, 12. Just having a good time at the concert. Seth comes back and he said, hey, he said, the guy that's supposed to do the announcing tonight didn't show up. Not going to make it. Said, go out and do this. So I said, okay. Because it really doesn't make me a difference. I'm just there.
Yeah.
So he gives me this piece of paper, and I walk out on stage, and the lights come on, and I'm standing there, and the kids are screaming, and just mothers are there, and it's just nuts. And I said, welcome to the great state fair of Montana. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Backstreet Boys.
Oh, no. You had no idea.
No, I didn't know who they were. I called home the next night and I said, somebody called the Backstreet Boys. I don't know who they were.
How old were your daughters at the time?
Big enough to yell, Daddy, did you get autographs?
No. And you're like, no, I didn't know who they were. Oh, no.
You know, it's probably the biggest mistake, biggest regret I have of all of it. I didn't take any pictures.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
And you started doing, and that's the thing you were,
that's
photography.
what I did.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wasn't important.
Well, I could see that. And it's also kind of like you walk around these days with a camera on your phone in your pocket.
Yeah. And
oh, yeah. But I'm just saying the convenience of being able to just grab a selfie with someone or just pull your phone, like, boom, got it.
Yeah.
You know, you're lugging around a camera or you're lugging around a disposable and you forget. And sometimes because you're just in the moment, you know, you don't want to ruin it. Like there's people who said, I saw so-and-so, like a famous rock star or something. Like, did you get a picture? Like, no, I just talked to him. He just talked to me. I didn't want to ruin the moment by fangirling out on him and said, hey, can I get a selfie with you real quick? I enjoyed the 10 minutes we talked to each other. Didn't even grab a photo. And I'm like, but you have that awesome story. Like, yeah, but I don't have proof. Like, we don't need proof. Like, this day you do. No one believes you if you don't show me a picture. Like, I don't have a picture. Well, you weren't even there.
I saw a quote the other day that said, if you don't have a picture, it didn't happen.
That's kind of how it is.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is, people could choose to believe you or choose not to believe you. It's no big deal. You knew where you were at. You knew the events that you did and the amazing people you met over the time.
So we traveled when I really quit traveling hard,
mm-hmm.
I had flown over 1 million miles on American,
mm-hmm.
just American.
Wow.
You had TWA, you had Brandon, you had Northwest, mm-hmm. But just Brandon. One airline, American Airlines.
Mm-hmm.
And you traveled all the time. It was just something you did.
Right.
You know, I worked construction Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Friday morning, I got up, shaved, cleaned up well, took a suitcase, went to the airport, and went someplace. Worked Friday night, Saturday night, sometimes did a matinee on Sunday, and flew home Sunday or Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Went to work Monday, worked 7 days a week, all
mm-hmm.
the time.
Yeah.
I don't regret it. It was hard work.
Yeah.
Missed a lot of things at home. My wife took care of them. She did a wonderful job with the children.
Mm-hmm.
They're still alive. I mean, that's a
plus. That's a plus.
I didn't intentionally do anything to them.
Right.
So I came in one weekend. I'd been in New York or Pennsylvania or somewhere. My wife said, you need to call Seth.
Okay.
That's my friend that promotes in California. He's got something for you. I didn't even pay attention to it. And I said, okay. So, I don't know, next day or something, I call him. Hey, He said, listen, U.S. Tobacco, which was Skoal,
Mm-hmm.
Copenhagen Skoal, and we did a lot of Copenhagen Skoal shows at that time.
Right.
They could sponsor things. Wants us to come to the National Finals Rodeo. We're going to do a car crush in front of the Cowboy Christmas. It's going to last 15 minutes a day, and we're going to do it for 10 days, and I'll pay you the same amount I always pay for a show. Okay, I can do that. And he said, listen, you've been gone so much with me, I'll fly your wife out here too. She can stay for 3 days. You can stay the 7 days and go home. Okay. So we fly out there and do the show Saturday morning and Friday morning, do the show Saturday morning, do the show Sunday morning, and she's flying back home because she's got to teach, and I'm going to stay out there and work. And she's in the cab at the casino hotel thing, and she's leaving, and I said, hey, I got to be here another week and need some money. You're right, you do. Here's $100. And slams the door, and the cab drives off.
Make it last, Mike.
You only have 7 more days to go.
Thank God for that free continental breakfast, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. And act like you're playing those machines so you can get something to drink.
Yeah, exactly.
So we rock along there. I get by. Friday comes along, and we finish the show on Friday. And Seth comes by and says, we're not going to do Saturday and Sunday. You can go home. Great. Let's settle up. Because he pays cash. And
Yep.
I'm going to have a lot of money that I can convert to more money because I'll be in Vegas for 2 days with a pocket full of money, and I'll get rich. And he said, settle up? I said, I paid your wife last week.
Oh, no.
So I said, well, okay, I'm going home.
She knew. She already knew.
So I find a payphone. At that time, you had a credit card payphone.
Yep.
So I call, listen, we're not going to do Saturday or Sunday. Did Seth pay you last week before you left? And she said, oh, yeah. Yeah, he paid me. It's in the bank. Okay, well, I'm headed home. So I go home and just scratch it up as something I should have known. Maybe 8 years later, I don't know, 5, it's a long time. We're out in California doing a show. They're sitting between shows, and they're sitting over here under a shade tree laughing and cutting up. And you can kind of tell by the actions and whispering and the giggles. And what are you two talking about? Nothing. Yes, you are. No, it's nothing. It's nothing. I'm not kidding you. It's nothing. I said, both of you are lying to me. Well, you remember that Las Vegas deal? Yeah, very, very well.
Yeah.
Well, he called on Saturday night, told me what he had in mind. And I said, there's no way in hell I'm going to send him out there and let him get that much money unless I'm there. And I'm coming with you. So he and I worked out all the peculiars about how it was going to be. And we just told you Sunday when you got home.
So you had no idea that they were in cahoots behind your back the whole time.
Oh, it took 8 years for me to catch on to that. And this is my best friend. This is a really close friend. Yes.
Yeah, who needs enemies when you got friends like those?
I'm still dumbfounded trying to figure out who it would be. Yeah, that's my close friends.
That's your close friends. But that's the ones you need. They keep you out of trouble.
No, Russell, it's not. I'd love to be the guy that jumps up and says, oh, you're so right, Russell. You're so brilliant. No, that's dumber than a box of rocks. I'm just telling you. You don't need friends like that. I got him. I can't do nothing with him.
It's the friends that you ever notice too. It's like when you get friends like that, it's not like Facebook. You can't just unfriend them.
No,
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 they're
because
there
he'll
for
show
life.
up at your house.
Oh yeah.
He lives in California.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go see what Galloway's doing.
Yeah,
In
not even
Oklahoma.
tell you. Not even tell you. Just you just
Oh,
get
no,
a, you
he's
just get a
just
rap.
show up.
You just get a rap on the door.
Knock
like,
on the door. Come on in.
and he's like, "I'm here for the weekend."
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you are.
Yeah, and he does that.
Can we put you up in a hotel? No, your place is perfect.
No, my bedroom's right back here. And it is.
It's your bedroom, Mike. Yeah. I got your bedroom. You take to the guest bedroom. I'm here, Mike.
He's a good friend. I don't regret any of it. It was truly an entertaining business.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if I had done anything different than I did do. Mm-hmm. I think that's improper grammar somewhere in there. But I liked it. I spent 40 years doing it. I still have a friend that has a touring monster truck show,
Mm-hmm.
and he does a show in Duncan, which is close to us, and he does one in El Reno, which is close to us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go work for him, not for money,
Right.
because I've done this so long, I don't want to lose it.
Right.
And it's hard to tell if you go out in the backyard and just try it,
Mm-hmm.
whether you're doing it good or not, because
Right.
you don't have an audience to bounce off of.
Right.
So I'll go work part of his show just to see how it feels and
Right.
what kind of, and I still can do it.
Oh yeah.
It's tiring to the voice. The voice is a muscle.
Oh yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
a tool, and it's tiring to the voice. But when you do this kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
you learn to control the adrenaline, and the adrenaline can make you do anything you want to do.
Right.
I've done shows where I slept for 2 hours
Mm-hmm.
and walked out and did 2.5-hour shows.
Oh yeah.
And it's nothing but an adrenaline rush.
Right.
I like it.
Well, I've heard of comedians even saying that. They said I've been almost at death's doorstep with the flu, and I'm just taking all this medication to get all my holes plugged up and trying to, I can't hardly see. I'm tired, but I walk out and that audience roars, and
You're alive.
it all goes away.
Yeah.
All goes away. And it's I'll do hour and a half, 2-hour sets, but the minute I get off that stage, my energy's gone again. I'll have it just for exit stage left, and like, yeah, you did a great show, and everyone's saying you did great. And I'm like, thanks. I'm like, y'all ready to go party? Like, no, I'm going to bed. Like, I'm completely spent.
I did a show one time, and I was working here in town, and I was up on top of a scraper and slipped and fell and hit the brush bar on the front of it, and then fell off the brush bar and fell to the ground.
Oof.
On Thursday with a flight out on Friday morning. So I went to the doctor, had to go to the hospital, couldn't do
Yeah.
anything else, and I have something wrong with my bones that don't show breaks for 24 hours, which we didn't know at that time. But I'd had some other things that made me believe that. So I flew to Oakland and did a show.
Yeah.
And half hour before show, getting ready, and I said, I'm taking a nap.
Yeah.
And I laid down and took a nap, 20 minutes, jumped up, did 2.5 hours, got on a plane, flew home, went back to the doctor, and had all the ribs broke on the right side.
Oh.
But I didn't feel it.
Probably because you didn't sneeze.
There's another thing that you don't do besides sneezing.
Yeah.
I didn't do that either.
Yeah, that would be probably one of the worst times for one of your co-hosts to come up to me and give you a sock in the ribs, like, "Hey, Mike, how you been?" Like, don't do that. They're all broke. I just didn't know it yet.
Well, I've spent a long time talking, so it's your turn to ask questions.
Well, I mean, really, I just want to know more also, like, so you went through all that. What did you have in mind as a retirement plan. As I mean, and like I said, you still go and do the shows here and there, when you have time. But like on a personal level, like what does Mike want to do
Well,
besides naked gardening, which we'll have to get into that later.
I can't. After I'd heard the guy say that they flew him someplace and paid him,
Mm-hmm.
my first goal in this business was for someone to fly me somewhere and pay for it.
Yeah,
That didn't take very long.
it didn't.
No. When I met the guys in Oklahoma City and went to work for them, we started flying every weekend. Then I wanted someone to send a plane for me and pick me up and fly me to where the show was and then fly me back home. And I went down into Texas one time, drove down there, long ways.
Yeah.
And I did their show, and they loved it, and we had a good time, and the show was over with, and they said, well, we'll see you next year. And I said, I'm not coming back.
Done. One and done.
Why? It's too far.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk. That was all I said. So we went on and got close to the show, and the guy called, and he said, won't you come back? And I said, I'm not coming.
Mm-hmm.
Too far. We'll send a plane. Cotton was good this year. The Cotton Growers Association has a plane. We'll send a plane.
Wow.
So they sent like a 10 or 12 passenger, twin engine, big, pretty good sized plane to Norman.
Yeah.
And I asked a friend, I said, you want to fly down to this place this weekend? He said, oh, commercial? No, they're sending an airplane for me.
Oh my God. Now we're gloating. You have to, they sent me
He
their
was
plan.
a close friend. And he said, yeah, I want to go. We went over there to Norman,
Yeah.
and we waited and waited and waited, and the wind was 65 and 70 miles an hour blowing out of the south. Couldn't take off. And honest to gosh, these two guys, the pilot and the co-pilot, just stood there and watched the wind direction on the wall. All of a sudden, he yelled, let's go!
There's a break.
We run out and jumped in the plane, and he got out on the runway and took off. And I said, how come we could go? And saw it drop to 49.
He knew the
Had
magic
to be
number.
under 50.
He knew the magic number to get out.
Yeah, we're gone. But when you got up, you could see this storm back off to the southeast.
Yeah.
It was when Paris, Texas got blown away by a tornado.
Yep.
And we flew down there and went to land. Oh, the wind was horrible. Went to land, and he made his turn and lined up on the runway, and the plane just moved to the right. There was another road, so we landed there.
Wow.
Pulled up to the stop sign, made a left, and went into the airport.
Is that called an emergency landing?
It wasn't what I called it.
It's just a bad landing.
I said, listen, you just landed on a road. Yeah, we do it all the time. Don't think anybody.
They got tires.
And that's we landed on a road, taxied inside.
Wow.
That was my second goal. And I never really had any more.
Never really had any more?
Just take it as it was. I never thought about a stadium being big.
Mm-hmm.
Did Miami, Florida one time, sold it out. Boy, there was a lot of people there.
Mm-hmm.
About 34 degrees and raining. It was cold.
Really?
But I never thought about the big crowds because I never did. When you work a big stadium like that, there's a private entrance that everything you go through. And
Right.
all my friends were there. I saw them last week and somewhere,
Yeah.
And it was a big deal.
So that's what I've heard, from, like I said, comedians and musicians and stuff that, say, well, what was your favorite show? They're like, man, it is insane to do a stadium like to know that all these people came to
Oh, yeah.
watch you or whatever, or see the event. But they say it's also kind of cool when you do a smaller venue. You know, like the comedians say, they're like, "Oh, you do a venue with like 800 people, 500 people. You feel like this connection with
Oh,
the crowd."
you go up and sit down amongst them.
Yeah, basically. They said, but you do a stadium, and it's just a sea of people, and it just disappears into a black abyss because there's so many people there, and it's just like it's hard for you to take it in that there's this many people there, and you are connecting. Everyone's having a good time, but you're still just a speck and a spit in the ocean almost, amongst all these people. But when you do the smaller venues, you get that close relationship.
I
with
always
them.
loved to work. I like to work the Cedar Rapids, Iowas, and Des Moines, and Omahas, and Evansvilles, and Wichita, Kansas, and I love those.
Well, even like the little, the tractor pulls and stuff, when it's just a bunch of good old boys and farmers sitting in the stands.
I worked one out here the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
that's just me. I mean,
Yeah.
that's my deal. That's my life.
mm-hmm.
That's my life. Galloway, get away from me. Don't bring that over here. I don't want to talk on that microphone. You just keep that thing to yourself.
And that's what happens at the car shows. What I like so much is, when we were there one time, a guy that was from the city, I believe, and I think he finally went up and asked who you were and probably talked to you, but he wasn't from around here. And because you walked up and you were talking to me by my Jeep. And me and you were razzing each other back and forth, and finally you're like, "Okay, well, I've had enough of you," and you just turn around and walk off. And that guy comes up and he said, "Who is that?" I said, "Mike Gallaway." He said, "Is he some sort of sportscaster?" I said, "Semi-retired." I said, "I think." I said, "But he used to do it all the time." And I told him about you being on. He said, "Man," he said, I hear him coming from the speakers," and I was like, "Is that the radio or is that someone here?" And then I finally saw this guy walking around with this gold microphone or whatever you had at the time, that little one, and I said, "Yeah, that's Mike Galloway." And he said, "I'm about to go say." He said, "I just couldn't believe that voice." It's like this sounds like a radio show. I was like, I said, "He's done it for years." And they were like, "Wow." So I mean, it's really cool. Like I said, just something small there where there's like, 50 cars and 100 people walking around, just to hear you all over the loudspeaker with cars driving down Main Street, and but it's just our little piece of the pie.
I'm entertaining Mike Galloway when that happens.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's kind of what I figured. I mean, that's just you going off the rails, just having fun, being yourself, no script, and it's good for that too, because you don't know who's going to walk up to you and want to talk to you, and you don't know who you're going to talk to. You just might kind of look over and see somebody and just, go off the chip and say, "All right, let's go and see what this guy's doing. I've known this guy for years," and be able to talk to him and like I said, razz people up and have fun.
One time I was going to Pontiac, Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
to the Silverdome. Weather was bad.
Mm-hmm.
Flights were canceled. Show started at probably 7. I landed in Detroit, got in a rent car, drove straight to the arena, and it's 6:45, and I go in the back door, and the guy meets me,
Mm-hmm.
the director of the show, live show. And we go into a bathroom, and I change clothes, and he's telling me what we're going to do that night, in what order. And 5 minutes before showtime, he hands me a microphone, and I walk out on the floor, and we just do it.
Oh wow!
No nothing. Just do it.
Just go out there and have fun.
Yeah, I just got dressed right there in the bathroom and went and did the show.
Wow.
But that happened a lot.
No, were those to you kind of like probably the most memorable in a way? I mean, I know they're all fun, but just kind of whenever you get done, you go, "Man, we did that totally off script, didn't have a chance to rehearse, and just killed it. Had the time of our lives."
You worked with these shows so long, and you worked with the different people that ran the shows, and you could literally just sit there and look at them and know what was going to happen next.
Right.
And it runs you for a live show.
Yes.
If you go see Disney on Ice or whatever it is, you don't watch the show, you watch the background and what's getting ready to happen. Because you've done it. You lived through that.
Right.
It's all the same design. It's just a different prop.
Right.
So I'm in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And I do this show, and it's sponsored by Meisterbrow Beer. And, you know, I've never seen Meisterbrow before, but
Never drank it.
I'm rocking it. Got a little note about it.
Yeah.
I do this 2.5 or 3 hour Meisterbrow show. I don't think anything about it. It's done.
Yeah.
So the show's over with, and I'm going through the pits, getting ready to go to the room, and this guy comes up, young, nice guy comes up, and he says, you the announcer? And I said, yes, I was. And he said, great job on our part. He said, I want to send you some beer. Okay. But I said, now you understand, I don't live here.
Yeah.
Where do you live? I said, I live in Oklahoma. I got a distributor in Lawton. I said, okay, here's my address. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. I appreciate it. So I come home, and I don't know, a week or two later, I tell my wife about the story about the guy coming up who's going to send me some beer.
Mm-hmm.
How much beer do you think is some? I don't have a clue. Maybe had to be a couple of cases because, you know, it wouldn't be worth the drive if it wasn't.
Right.
So my wife was working at a small school close to here, and we were over there decorating for homecoming.
Mm-hmm.
My neighbor calls, hey, there's a guy here's brought some beer. I said, you know how to open the door, put it in the garage. Okay. So we drove home. We're talking. I said, how much beer do you think you sent? She said, I don't know, maybe 2 cases of beer. I mean, it's not much.
Yeah.
Just kind of a genuine thing to show you know.
Yeah.
So we get home and get out and raise the garage door up, and there's 365 cans of Meisterbrow beer in my garage.
Oh, damn.
Everybody got a 6-pack for Christmas. Everybody.
And another one to go.
Yeah, if you were good friends, you got 2 6-packs.
Yeah, I bet they were calling you Hank Thompson, a 6-pack to go.
Yeah.
Like everyone just come by Galloway's and get you a 6-pack to go.
My neighbor says, the guy said, this guy win some contest or something? I never delivered this much beer to a house. And the guy said, you ought to know the guy that lives here. That'd answer your question.
Yeah. He's a smooth talker.
300. I drank it. It's
I
pretty good.
was about to say, free beer is pretty good.
Well, you start off with 2 6-packs of Budweiser, and that Meisterbrow is just tasty after that.
Yeah. That's what I'm about to say. Yeah, you got to cleanse the palate off, or numb the palate. Is what I've heard. Yeah,
bring it to life.
That's kind of how we were. We'd have like we'd spend our hard-earned money on Coors Light or something that was tasty. And then somebody would be like, hey, man, I brought a 30-pack of Milwaukee's Best. I'm like, you just put that in the fridge when we're done with these 12-packs.
Stand by.
And all that tastes like water, then we'll start on the beast.
Stand by. You're going on in just a minute.
Oh, and one more thing I had to bring up because I don't think we really touched much on it other than joking around about it. What started the whole, because I see it on Facebook once a year, you with just a gardening belt on, kneel down by a rose bush or something, and you're completely you're completely naked under that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do you do that early in the morning before the kids have to get on the buses and stuff, or do you just wing it?
Russell.
I just want to know what your neighbors think. Or are you hiding in the bush?
That's Mike Gallaway. The first Saturday in May is National Naked Gardening Day.
Okay. Do you have any history on this, or is this something you made up?
It's real.
Oh, it's real. Okay. Now I'm going to research it.
No. It's a real deal.
Okay, I'm researching it now.
Yeah.
I just want to see if I think I have much of a better chance of not being seen way out here where I live.
First Saturday in May.
First Saturday in May. On the calendar, folks. First Saturday in May.
You ought to try to get your wife to take your picture. I'm not taking that picture. You can just get out there and forget about it.
That's kind of where I'm. Yeah, I might do naked coop cleaning day instead, because the chickens won't mind the photo.
And I read about it
Uh-huh.
5 or 6 years ago, and I thought, they always said you wasn't right.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Oh, is that how it is? Like, oh, you ain't right. So when some people say, "Oh, you ain't right," you're like, "Oh no, I'm about to go
And
even crazier."
Just so you know, even though it's this first Saturday in May,
Mm-hmm.
those cheap seats in the back of the police cars, they still get hot. Just so you got an idea. Last year we had food trucks. I had police directing traffic. Get out of the way. Like, hey, put that camera up.
Oh my gosh!
I don't know. It's just
It's just a little
kind of like breathing. It's just something I do.
It's just a little quip you have. Like everyone has their. There's always like a silly goose or just something that somebody does, and then you go, "Wait, you do that?" Like, "Oh yeah," like have for years. Like, I never would have thought. Like, you didn't ask, one, but two, it's just that was the thing that surprised me the first time it popped up on my Facebook, and I showed Erin, and I was like, "Look at this." She goes, "Oh yeah, he does that every year." I'm like, "You've known about this?" Oh yeah, yeah. And I was like, "Huh." I was like, "Well, okay." It just made me laugh.
This kind of should put it into perspective, Russell. I'm just not right.
I'm just not right.
That's all there is to it. I wished I was sometimes. I'd like to be right. I'd like to be like normal.
Oh, no. Normal's boring, Mike.
How do you know? How would you know? You really don't have a clue.
No, but I've heard horror stories. I have. And I've met people that I could tell, like, I don't pity them, but I've just been like, is this how they are all the time? They say, yeah, this is about as normal and basic as you can get. Of a personality, of everything else. I'm like, I don't pity them. Maybe that's just how they are, but I couldn't be that way. And if I have a close friend that looks at me and they go, yeah, Russell, I know you couldn't be that way. I'm like, I would get bored if that was it. I'm always just trying to go for more, do more stuff, adventure. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I said I've got to interview Mike, because I know he is the polar opposite of normal. He's done everything. He's done, and even if I say he's done everything, he'll say, "Oh no, there's still a bunch I haven't done." Well, yeah, it's going to be that way. There's always going to be a bunch you never did or you wished you would have done, but you have to look at what you have done.
You know, my turn
Mm-hmm.
is about up.
Yeah.
I know it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't live forever.
No. Well, I don't know. I mean, you
No.
like to brag about how old you are.
Well, I am old. I really scares the living tar out of me. I'm telling you. My gosh, look at that guy in a wheelchair. Yeah, Galloway, he was 3 years younger than you in school.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like poor guy.
But I probably should have done a lot of things different.
Yeah.
I didn't. I don't really have that many bad regrets.
Mm-hmm.
I wished I'd been smarter, more intelligent. I should have paid better attention in school.
Mm-hmm.
If I'd done that, I'd have probably died on the assembly line putting starters in boxes.
Yep.
And I was a professional boxer at one time. Didn't know that, did you?
No, I did not.
Yeah. Yeah, I was a professional boxer. I didn't last very long. Maybe 6 months.
What happened there?
I dropped a starter on my foot.
Dropped a starter on your foot.
Yeah, see, the starters would come down the assembly line, and I would pick them up and put them in the box. And then close the lid, and that would make you a boxer.
That was your boxing career?
Unit Parts of Oklahoma City. Yep, that's where you did. You put the boxes in the box,
Uh-huh.
put them down the shelf, and that was a boxer. I wasn't the assembly, I was the boxer.
So by dropping the starter on your foot, that ruined your boxing career.
You don't work here anymore, Galloway.
Is that when they still gave you walking papers?
Yeah.
Is that what they called them?
You're done. You need to get off your butt and go look for a job.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say, like, yeah, everyone talks about how they got walking papers. Like, I never got that. A guy walked up my desk and said, get the hell out of here. Like, that was just it.
The real clue is when they yell next.
Next. Oh, God. Yeah. I only got fired by my dad once. And yeah, that was kind of a wake up call, because the only time I'd ever been close to fired before that was when I worked at Mazio's, and I had to work that weekend, but I went to see my grandpa, and they're like, "You're going to be back Saturday, right?" Yeah, I'll be there Saturday. My grandpa says, "Oh yeah, you can take a day off. Let's go catfishing." And we went and ran jug lines and stuff. My phone's going off, and I'm like, "I'll call him back." Well, I dropped my phone in the water, and I was
Sure
like,
you did.
"No, I really did." And I was like, "Hey, here's my excuse," So I put the phone up. We fish. We take Polaroid photos. We catch some big catfish. Had time of my life. Go home Sunday morning. Go to school Monday after school. I know it's when my shift starts again. I go in there and I'm like, "Hey, Justin." He's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, no." He's like, "Hey, check this out." I said, "Sorry about my not showing up this weekend. I was at my lake. My phone fell in the water. I got a new one coming Tuesday, and this, that, and the other." And I pulled that Polaroid. I was like, "But check this out." I said, "Look at this fish I caught." And he's like, "Oh man, that's real nice. Catch that this weekend?" I'm like, "Yeah, cool." I was like, "So, what?" I said, "I got here a little early. I just, come by to apologize, and everything, and make sure everything was okay." And he's like, "Oh yeah, everything's fine." I said, "Okay, cool." And so, "Well, I'm gonna get started." And he goes, "Oh no, you're not." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not." He goes, "No, you're done, Russell." He said, "I appreciate you coming in here manning up about it, but yeah, you're
You
done.
don't work here.
You don't work here anymore." I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, thanks, man." He's like, "All right." I was
See ya.
like, I shook his hand. I went home and told my dad, "Say, I got fired." He goes, "What for?" I said, "For going fishing with Papa." And he's like, "God," he's like, "I'm so ready for you to be done with school so you can start here at a real job." And yeah, he put me through the ringer and fired me once, brought me back on. But yeah, so I learned the hard way.
So you got time for two quick stories?
I got time for all the stories. Let's have these though.
My dad and I worked together,
Okay.
taking care of a water department.
Okay.
And it was winter time. Well, it was late in the fall, and it was kind of cool on the ground, but up in the air was 100 foot or so. It was warmer.
Yeah.
So he says, "Now we've got to go climb this water tower." And we had electrodes that ran on the inside of it, and clean these electrodes because one of them turned the water on, one of them turned the water off.
Right.
It filled the tower. And we needed to do that today. And I said, "Well, okay." I said, "Now look, Dad, you're getting up in years. I'll go do it."
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. So I start up the water tower, and I get up 100 foot or so, and boy, there's these big old huge yellow wasps just everywhere. I climb back down. "What are you doing?" "Man, Dad, there's some yellow wasps are everywhere up there. They're huge." He said, "Oh, they won't hurt you this time of year." "Really? No, they won't hurt you. Just don't get excited. Just go on."
Yeah.
Okay. I climb back up the water tower. I get up, and you go to the water tower, and you walk around the walkway, and then you climb another ladder up, and then you climb with your back to the ground and open the lid and put your feet inside the water tower and sit there and work.
Yeah.
Don't have any kind of safety boot.
No.
Just there.
No OSHA.
No. And these wasps are just landing and walking around on your face.
Oh God.
And they're on your hands, and you've got this stuff cleaning these, just thick. You're cleaning, and you work about 45 minutes or an hour up there, and they're just all over you. I mean, you look like you got a wasp.
Yeah.
So I'm getting done, and I put everything back together, and I start climbing down, and I get closer, and it's colder, and they fly off of me, and I get down, and my dad's standing there, and he said, "Well, how'd it go?" And I said, "Well, it went really well." I said, "I'm surprised I didn't get bit."
Mm-hmm.
"You were right." He said, "I'd heard that stuff all my life and never believed it. My mama told me that, and I just told Mama," I said, "Mama, I don't believe that stuff. Them things eat you alive." I guess she's right.
So you were the tester for that scenario.
Yeah.
Well, I've learned with the wasp when it is cold, because I see them all over the wellheads I work on, and I'm the same way. I'm like, you know what? I've got wasp spray. I don't want to waste it. I'm going to use that stuff in the summer when they're flying around 100 miles an hour. But when it's cold, I work around them. I just look at them with that I'm not gonna mess with you. You don't mess with me. Let me get my job done, and I'll be out of here, and y'all can hibernate. So
Next year in December, I was standing down there, and he said, "You got to go up to Water Tower and take care of this." And this was close to Christmas.
yeah,
We got a problem up there and need to go rewire it. And I said, "Okay." So I start up the Water Tower and get up 2 runs or something. He yells, "Hey!" Now he had a real dry sense of humor.
mm-hmm.
Come back down. So I go back down to the ground. What is it? He said, "Go inside City Hall. There's a closet." Yeah, I know where it's at. He said, "There's an old Santa Claus suit in there.
Mm-hmm.
Put it on and climb the water tower with it. Do you work with that Santa Claus suit on?" Okay. So I go to get the Santa Claus suit on. "Dad, why do I have to wear the Santa Claus suit?" He said, "Well, there's ice all over that water tower. I'm pretty sure you're going to fall. And when you do, I'm going to sing, 'Here comes Santa Claus, here comes Santa.'" Fatherly love.
It sounds like you had a good one.
We were close.
Yeah, I was about to say, you sound like you had a good one.
Yeah. We were close.
Because you're lucky, too, because I always tell funny stories, but then I tell a lot of horror stories about working with my dad, and I'll hear some. They're like, "I'm in a family business. It was never like that." I'm like, am I the only one?
What?
Yeah, and then yeah, you do. You get that like, and then you talk to someone else like, "Oh no, I had it way worse than you did." Like, "Oh, okay, good." So it's not just me. Like, "Oh no, that father-son working relationship, it's rough, especially in the oil field." They're like, it can eat you alive and drive you apart. Because there were times when we'd come in from the road on a Friday, and we'd park the truck, and he'd say, "All right, get the grease changed out, get everything restocked, and I don't want to see you till Monday morning." And he just shut the door in the office and leave. And I'd be like, fantastic. So, I mean, I got the weekend to myself. Because sometimes he'd come home in a good mood and be like, "Hey, you want to come over Saturday and work on this car with me?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah." But in the back of my head, I kind of didn't want to. I just wanted to go.
Not really.
I've been sleeping next to you in a hotel room for 5 days. I love you, but I've had enough. I need my weekends to myself.
Well, Mine told me one time I was building a Model A coupe,
Mm-hmm.
and I was out in the garage. It was a dirt floor and just nothing.
Right.
And I came in the house and I said, "Dad, I'm going to put this flathead motor in this Model A. Can you help me get this thing lifted up and put in there?" He said, "Let me tell you something, son. So I had to work on them things all my life. I didn't have a choice. Had to do it to make them run.
Mm-hmm.
I had to have them to go to town in. I don't have that problem anymore. You do." "Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad.
I'm going to go out and work on the car."
There you go.
"Okay, I'm going to sit here and watch TV."
Watch TV.
"Thanks, Dad." Yeah, we were close.
We were close. So my last question, being that, we all enjoy cars and stuff, I need to know, what is your absolute dream car and why?
40 Ford pickup,
Okay.
Mustang front end,
Mm-hmm.
LS motor, automatic, air. Don't care what it looks like on the outside.
Don't care what it looks like on the outside.
Nice interior.
Nice interior.
Steelies, steel wheels,
Yeah.
dog dish hubcaps, the small one.
Yeah. That's it. That's it.
That's it.
That's all you want. Just something to.
I won't ever have it, but yeah, that's all.
Why wouldn't you ever have it?
Cost money.
Oh my God! No, you got to have
It
something.
just,
You got to have a little bit of project money.
it's just, yeah, that's always been kind of in my woo.
Yeah. When you see one or you think about it, it's just that's.
I like pickups. I mean, I like a 40 pickup. I like the 48 and 49 Ford pickups. I like Chevrolet trucks from 1948 until 1959. I'm not real happy on the 60s. I like 69, 70, and 71 Chevrolet trucks.
Yes.
I'm okay with the square bodies.
Yeah.
I like trucks.
You like trucks in general.
I
Yeah,
like
it was
trucks.
like you shared on Facebook, that guy that had that red Chevrolet Apache.
50
Oh man, that thing
just
was
sold.
short. Yeah, I saw you did an update where it just
Brand new.
yeah,
Now,
that was a frame off build, right?
that was brand new. That
Wow.
that was my friend Seth.
Mm-hmm.
And the story on that truck is he had a business called Golden State Pickup Parts.
Okay.
And he's been selling pickup parts for 50 years.
Okay.
And this guy was a customer.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no body work on the body.
Mm-hmm.
There was no body work on the fenders. It's all straight. He bought all NOS parts. The man that was building the truck, I bought all NOS parts to put it together with. He died. They called Seth and said, "You want to buy Dad's truck?" And Seth said, "Yes, I do."
Yeah.
That truck was built. Everything on it is NOS, which is, people to understand that terminology, that stands for new old stock. It's something that came from Chevrolet
Yes.
in 1959 that's been
In a
put
bag.
away
Yeah.
or dropped or hidden,
Yes.
and then you put it on the truck. The windows, regulators, everything's new.
Wow.
New 6-cylinder Chevrolet motor. It had the correct battery in it. It had the correct transmission. It's all new. It was a brand new, had 3 miles on it. I went out and looked at it right before he finished it up.
Yeah.
Just
Gorgeous.
outstanding.
Gorgeous truck. Yeah, I saw
Walking into a dealership.
Yeah, they did a photo shoot. It looked like out by an airport. So from the one you shared, and those photos were they don't do that truck justice. It was gorgeous.
That was done in Santa Barbara.
Mm-hmm. I saw the Santa Barbara the sign. Yeah, I forgot about it. Okay, that's where it was shot at.
He lives in Santa Ynez, and Santa Ynez is up on top of the mountain from Santa Barbara. Santa Barbara's on the coast, and you go up the mountain, and that's where he lives in Santa.
Okay.
The truck was just outstanding, and he called me Tuesday or Wednesday this week and said, "Got some good news and some bad news." And I said, "Okay, let's have it." So the truck, lying about the bad news.
Yeah.
Yeah, that truck was just gorgeous.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, he has another truck, 57,
Mm-hmm.
that he built 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Has a big block in it.
Oh.
Orange, Lord, just perfect.
Wow.
Gave it to his daughter. His daughter has it.
Oh, nice. So the 57, it's a Chevy.
Yeah.
So that kind of like had like the Bel Air style front end, like the front ends of the cars kind of match that truck.
Single headlight.
Yeah, single headlight. Yeah.
Lattice bar
Mm-hmm.
grill.
Yep.
Beautiful truck.
Yeah.
Really is. Orange.
Yeah.
Gosh, just knocks your eyes out. His daughter's got that now.
That's cool.
And his son's got a 68 or 9
Yeah.
with a 502 in it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm actually kind of bummed because I just found out, as a matter of fact, after we get done here, I've got to go pick my Cadillac up from Transmission Exchange. It went to Rusty's. He fixed all of the leaks in the engine. I had antifreeze leaks. I had oil leaks. I had vacuum leaks. I had, that 63 model hadn't been touched. That's what he told me. He said all these gaskets were original. So I'm impressed it made it this long.
Yeah.
He said you drove it, which was good, swelled everything back up, but you drove it so much, it started to fall apart. So he said that's just part of it. But he said your transmission is puking out of the vent valve, which means that the transmission is getting hot. So he said rather than just fix the leaks on the transmission, they said we need to do an overhaul. And I said, okay. And he said, but they can't do it because they don't know nothing about these old whatever hydroglides or whatever they are. And he said, but there's a guy in Tecumseh. He said he's 70 years old. This is all he works on. He said that's where you need to take this car.
Cadillac transmission.
Yes, and he said you need to take it to him. And I said okay. So I'm a little bummed that I won't be driving it for a little while longer until I get the transmission fixed. But everything else is in ship shape. So my last thing to ask of you before we go,
No, I do not have any money.
do you sign autographs? Because I think I'm gonna have to have you sign that poster over there that you brought over to me, just for that, just so it can go up on the wall, nice and pretty.
Okay.
Okay, so you can sign that. And the last thing I have to ask you is, with all of the knowledge, wisdom, because you were just saying how you have very little regrets, you wish you would have done things differently, had better knowledge about certain things. What is your favorite piece of advice to give to anyone younger that just, might say, hey, I just, all the stuff you've done, like what would you tell me to do? Like what is the best advice that Mike Gallaway can give to his audience?
And this will sound real corny.
Nah,
Just do it.
just do it.
They will not kill you.
Mm-mm.
They won't eat you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're embarrassed about it, you'll get over it.
Oh yeah.
Just do it. Walk out there in front of those 500 people and tell your favorite joke.
Mm-hmm.
Slow down
Yep.
and do it.
I think I'm going to have to make sure Damon Merchant listens to this, because that's his biggest worry, is just being in front of cameras, being in front of people. And I'm just like, dude, if you don't go out there when they pass the microphone to you to talk and you back away and do the, oh, no, that's the issue. You've got to grab it. And just, even if you suck, even if you can't, if you stutter, or you do it that one time, it'll probably break. You'll get over it, and you'll, even if you fail at it the first time, the next time you'll be ready. Maybe.
First thing, you will not fail.
Okay.
Because if you get that opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
then you're already someone.
Yeah, true.
And everyone that's watching
Mm-hmm.
knows that you're someone because you're there.
Exactly.
Secondly, when you are someone,
Mm-hmm.
you don't make that many mistakes. I don't care if you said, well, I've been driving this old orange car for about 3 years and you've never seen an orange car. They will say, I'd like to see what that orange car looks
It's
like.
like, see what that orange car looks like.
You bring him you bring him over some evening,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll spend about an hour around the table.
Well, that's why I have 4 microphones, because you're probably going to have to come do a guest appearance when Damon's here with me.
Well, I would do that, but they can't eat you.
No. That's kind of what I.
You're not going to jail.
Yeah, that's right.
You're smart enough to not tell where the body is. You just go on.
So you heard it from Mike Galloway, ladies and gentlemen. When it comes to the end of the day, just do it. Mike, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I look forward to talking to you many more times in the future when you get time, because, off or on air, but still, just the fact that you took time out of your day to come here and burn almost an hour and 40 minutes with me.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow.
Oh,
And it went by so quick.
I got to get home.
Oh, you ain't got nothing to do.
It's getting dark.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a wonderful time. Thank you all for listening, and we're out. See you later, Mike.
See ya.